Hi, welcome to Middleware Friday, episode 64, May 4th, 2018. Getting the news leveraging the Bing News API version 7. So in this episode, I will be talking of one of the cognitive services you can find in Azure, which is called the Bing News API version 7. In this episode, we will not have any community content. So if we look at some of the recent waves of technology, one of which is the cloud, which is now globally available, has unlimited compute resources, it's scalable, available, and most of you who are watching these episodes are probably working within the cloud, either in Azure and then in integration with Logic App, for instance, or maybe you're just doing Azure in a broader capacity. Then there's IoT. So IoT is getting more momentum with devices, smart watches, everything around us. And it's becoming a huge marketplace, and many of the cloud providers like AWS, Google, and Microsoft are investing heavily in this market with their services. They have like IoT Hub, if I'm just referring to what Azure is offering, data capabilities, ingesting the data, put it in data lake, or do some other analytics, machine learning, etc. And then you have something like edge computing, which is another new kind of technology where you offload some of the capabilities of compute you have in the cloud, but then more to the device itself. And then based on connectivity, you can once in a while push data out, or you can do some pre-processing and then push it into the cloud. And then, of course, you have another tidal wave that's coming up to it, which is artificial intelligence. So we've talked about it in some of the previous episodes of Middleware Friday about AI, and we're coming back to it because I want to share something around the News API, but it has tons of capabilities which have been demonstrated and which I'll also be demonstrating here. So cognitive services is a part of the Microsoft AI platform. So I've mentioned this before in another Middleware Friday episode. So basically it's a buildup of services. So you have custom AI where you can leverage the Azure machine learning. You can leverage the cognitive services. So that's kind of leveraging pre-built algorithms. Or you can have something like what's called conversational AI with bot services. So in the past, Ken did one of the Middleware Friday sessions and even sessions that integrate around the bot framework itself. And then on the right-hand side, you have some of the tooling you can use to leverage those services. You have some integration with other deep learning frameworks, and of course, the services sits on top of the infrastructure that Microsoft Azure is offering. Some of the capabilities are also suitable for doing big data in general, doing kind of MapReduce jobs, etc., leveraging some of the compute power, whether it's processes or whether it's graphical type of processes, something that also other cloud providers are offering to basically get their customers to their platform. But each are this is kind of way of the new battleground in general anyway. But this is the Microsoft AI platform, and we'll be focusing on cognitive services. So basically the cognitive services has evolved to 5 types of buckets and many APIs. And you've got like division, speech, language, knowledge, and search. And in search is where you can also find the Bing News Search, our topic of today. In general, you can find them on http://microsoft.com/cognitive, where you can find these services. So in general, why would you use any of these services? Well, it's kind of easy because once you set them up in the Azure portal, you could call those pre-built type of AI using REST APIs. It's just a few lines of code and then you're done. Either be within your APIs, calling that other API, or you can from other program or solutions you're building, you can just easily call those REST APIs, just leveraging a few lines of code. It's pretty flexible. You can leverage those APIs through mobile devices. You can use other kind of languages to talk to those APIs. So it's a little bit platform type of agnostic capability that Microsoft is offering with their cognitive services. And it's been thoroughly tested by Microsoft Research through machine learning. There's some good quality documentation, whether it's GitHub, Stack Overflow, or MSDN or Microsoft Docs. And there's other people that through the user forums ask for new features, like some of the other services that are available in Azure as well. So looking in general at these capabilities, so it's vision. So in previous episodes we talked a bit about OCR capability or face or emotion APIs. You can do some video analysis, etc. Then you have speech. So speech is something like you can find in the Cortana smart speaker. There are also some other smart speakers out there, like the one from Amazon, whether it be the Echo Spot or one of the other Echo devices. And even Apple is in the market with smart speakers. So you can, through these APIs, leverage some of the speech as well. Then you have language, and it includes like the Language Understanding Intelligence Service, or LUIS AI, something that's been discussed in Middleware Friday episodes before as well. And these all evolve around language, and includes also something like sentiment analysis. Then you have other APIs within Cognitive more around knowledge itself. So there's some knowledge capabilities. There's also something like a recommendation API, which you could leverage to do recommendations based on a personalized product. You could do something as that as well using a pre-built AI. And then, of course, you have the final bucket or the final SKU or whatever you look at Cognitive Services, which includes search. And within search, you could do things like image search, you could do a custom type of search, or you can even do something like a news search. So you can do some aggregation of news articles through leveraging that API. So this is the focus of this episode, is about this Bing News Search API. So there used to be a version 5 and there's a new now a version 7 available. So in a short demo, I want to walk through a little bit how you could use that Bing Search News API, something I found out recently when I was looking at Cognitive Services again. I thought, let's try this one out. So in general, you could, like some of the other AI capabilities, go to that side of the Bing News API, and then you can also try out it yourself, looking at the behaviors. There's some examples here, like European football, top stories. So I can click on that one, and it will give me some of the results back. I can also do, like you already saw, like, okay, let's look at Logic Apps and get the news, which the freshness means is like what are the latest news within a week. There's Safe Search, which is kind of set on strict by default, and you cannot change it to another because it prevents kind of pornographic material or violence or anything like that. So it's pretty safe search. And then you can also look at markets. So you can also change this to other languages and other places where you want to look for news. So the API is pretty well easy to provision through the Azure portal. So here's the example of what I call the News Cognitive Service. At least it's the name, but this is kind of the endpoint, which you can use. And if you want to use it, then you also have to provide a key, which is displayed here. So I've created a function to wrap a call towards that API, but I also included not just the freshness and the safe search, but also the markets, which is English US, but also the count, where I specify, okay, I want the top 3 articles. So in general, you could look at the documentation, which tells something about the API, but also what needs to be in the header. You can find it in the documentation. But also what kind of stuff you have to specify in the query parameters. So category, count, which I implemented, the freshness, which could be 24 hours, a week, or a month, MKT, which is the market, which you saw, offset. So, and then you have the queue of the query itself, the safe search. There could be like this is the type safeness, language setting, and so forth. So I've set some of these query parameters here strictly in this one. So this is one I could expose this internally to provide, let's say, internal intranet sites with some of the news. So let's say I want to do some type of specified news feed for the person that's reading or using the internet. So if I go to Postman, I can do the same type of query. And as you can see, this is the URL of the function. It will then send this query towards that API. It took a bit of time, but depending on the network, it could be a little bit faster. So it's not the cognitive service, just my internet connection here at home. And then you see the results right here. So basically, this is what you call, and this is the query. And it's just sent to the function, and the function on its turn sends that payload to the API. So with this demo, I hope to show you, or showed you basically how you could easily leverage that Bing News Search API version 7 using a function. Now, Microsoft itself, around cognitive services, released an ebook. So this ebook is available online. So if you go to, if you search for Future Compute Artificial Intelligence, you'll find that website. And then you find this book. And if you scroll down, you can click on it, and then you have the available content of the book itself. It will load, and then you can read it on your e-reader and such. And it's really something like Microsoft's way of looking at the role of society in artificial intelligence. And then you can relate that back to what I've shown with you in this demo around artificial intelligence, and something that we've showed in Middleware Friday in the past as well. So if you're interested, it's about 150 pages. Definitely go to the website and read this book, and some other resources you can find there as well. If you've got any feedback around Middleware Friday, please keep it coming through Twitter or through the email. And then again, I'd like to thank you for watching this episode, and I would like to thank Bistro360 for being a great host as well. Which brings us again to integrate. So we've talked about this in previous Middleware Friday episodes as well. So there will be an integrate 4th until the 6th of June. Tickets are still available. If you read this, then we're almost past the regular season, so the tickets price will be $6.99. There's been recently also Clemens Vast has been added to the roster of speakers, so it's definitely interesting. So if you want to go, please register and sign up. It's like a couple of weeks away from now. And I like to leave you with the music credits.